Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly webinar here at Doman International. On this webinar, which we call Start the Week with Spencer, we take questions from parents all around the world, and we tell parents with children with special needs to bring us their toughest and most important questions so we can address them. And so whether you're joining me right now on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, you can just type questions into the comments box and we will answer them in order. Now, today I have some very special guests who have joined me. I have here Viraj and Ria, who are parents who have done the Doman Method program. So Viraj and Ria, thanks so much for joining me today.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
So could you maybe just start out by telling us a bit about what led you to the program? What were the circumstances that brought you to the Doman Method?
So, this sort of started in 2010, I think. Vivan was about 4 years old, and he was finishing.
You just joined.
He was finishing nursery school at the time, and so pre-kindergarten. And the teachers kept telling us there's some issues, and so we said, okay, let's investigate it. And so we did. We went sort of everywhere. We went to hospitals. They did standardized testing. We went to child psychologists. They did again standardized testing, till we went to one person who said, listen, I don't know exactly what it is. There is something wrong, but why don't we try and address it rather than try and sort of put a label to it? And at that point, we started the traditional therapies of speech therapy and OT and things like that. What we noticed was Vivan was fine in his early years. He sort of regressed somewhere because we can see that from his early videos. And then someone just mentioned to us about the program. And there was the book, which we sort of read immediately. And then we tried to get an appointment. We couldn't get an appointment in Philadelphia during the summer. Then we postponed to September. Vivan got sick in September, so we couldn't come. Then we postponed to December. That's when we finally made it. So December of 12, I think, is when we made it. So this process began in 11. And then we said, the whole thing was leave no stone unturned. The book made a lot of sense to us. So we said, let's go do the course. So
I was skeptical.
Yeah, Ria was a little skeptical, but I told her.
I was going to ask you about that because it's very common for couples when they first learn about the program for at least one of them to be skeptical.
Yeah. And Raj was like, you know what? There's no harm. We'll just, if anything, we'll gain something, some knowledge. And if you are not aligned with what they're saying, we don't have to do it. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Let's just do the course and see how it goes from there.
I actually had to bribe her to come to Philadelphia. I promised her a holiday and a 5-day course in between, and I told her, if you don't like the course, we'll stop it. By day 2, I think she was sort of on board.
I was in tears.
And Ria, do you remember what was the thing that first really connected with you? I know it's some time ago, but do you remember?
I can't pinpoint any one thing, but in everything that was being said or spoken about, like how children with autism or special ADD, whatever issues, so behaviors that they have and how the parents like simple things like while I think one of the lectures where it was spoken on how we react to the kids, and because we don't understand what they're going through. So like when they're eating and there's the food is being spilled everywhere, and it's frustrating for the pet. Like you keep telling the child, how are you eating? Can you eat properly? Can you see? Don't let it spill out. But for the child, maybe because of his issues or convergence or whatever so all that resonated with me because that's exactly what I was doing, getting frustrated and just not being able to understand why Vivan is not being able, like, it's such a simple thing, and why can't he just
Why
eat
can't you do
properly?
it? Yeah.
But
I know what you mean. A lot of
it
parents have
all
told
made
me,
sense,
yeah,
and it opened my eyes, and that's what, like, really tugged at my heart, that, oh my God, my child must be going through so much in his head, and here I am, and just yelling and getting frustrated and losing my patience, and it's just a better understanding of and it's changed the relationship between me personally and Vivan.
yeah, because many parents have told me that because we show images to the parents of what it's like to see the world when you have visual convergence problems and having
Exactly.
having double vision, and what it's like to walk downstairs, or
Exactly.
do simple fine motor skills like buttoning and unbuttoning when you
Exactly.
can't see clearly.
For us, it's simple, right? Like, why can't you do it? It's so easy. Take your time. Like walking down the stairs, it's your house. You've done this, so, like, why is it so difficult?
Yeah.
And it just cleared everything. So clean
So,
slate.
and for Vivon, did you receive a diagnosis, and were you given any kind of predictions of what his future would be like?
We got several different diagnoses. Each one had a different diagnosis for us. Um, I think the only thing that everyone said, oh, just do the speech therapy and do OT and this, that, the other. But there was nothing really helping. I mean, there was no, his progress was this and his peers were doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sort of, there was no, that graph wasn't coming together.
Mm.
And then, some things like when we started the program, it was hard to begin with. There was lots of changes that we had to sort of deal with. We had lots of changes to deal with everyone else in the home. So, um, grandparents, great grandparents, uncles, aunts, everybody had to be told, you know, this is the way things are going to be now. Um, and everyone was like, oh, you're being cruel to the child. And then an uncle of mine came up to me and said something which stuck. He said, don't listen to anyone. He says, sometimes in order to be kind, you need to be cruel.
Mm.
He says, so you're not being cruel, you're being kind. He says, you're just trying to help your child get better. And we powered through. We did what, 6 visits to Philadelphia with our child. Um, we did 3 or 4 years of active programming, and then you guys started coming to India. Then we did more here.
Yeah.
So a lot sort of happened.
I think here, as far as the diagnosis is concerned, it's all these standardized tests that they do, and if you get a certain score, it's on the spectrum,
Right.
mild or moderate, or it's ADD.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Right.
uh, Now it is multiple learning disabilities.
Yeah.
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 So
Very symptom
yeah,
focused. Okay.
exactly.
So, do you remember what were the first Doman Method programs you started at home?
So creeping,
Creeping,
crawling, patterning, the nutrition program, the reading program,
breathing,
masking came a little
masking,
later.
masking.
Masking
Okay.
came a little later.
And
Uh,
when you started those different activities, how long did it take you to start seeing some results? And do you remember what the first changes that you noticed
It
were?
was quite quick, actually.
I think one of the first things we noticed is his anxiety reducing,
Mm.
which was a big one. His
Convergence.
convergence is something he pointed out to us, actually, very interestingly. I remember on one of our visits to Philadelphia, I can't remember if it was our second visit or our third visit, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Melissa took him out to run
Yeah.
to see if he can run. And we'd done this before, and there was a little speed breaker where he would stop,
Uh-huh. Right.
and
Yeah. A speed bump. Yeah. He would
yeah,
stop at the speed
Yeah.
bump.
and
Yeah.
then he would walk over that and then start trying to run again.
Yeah.
And I remember we took him to the eye doctor, and we did an eye checkup, and he checked him out, this, that, the other, and When we came back, we did the running thing again, and he ran over that speed breaker.
Yeah.
And then on the choice board, he said, "I can see better."
Yeah.
So that was a big one.
Yeah, because he had depth perception.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
he could see before that speed bump. He didn't know probably if that's going upward, downward, and so he stopped because he was scared of tripping.
correct.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. His anxiety reducing was big.
Focus, his attention span increased in school is what the teachers noticed. And again, things like eating by himself, being a little more independent, listening to instructions.
Multi-step instructions.
Yeah. Yeah. So comprehension, following
Yeah.
commands. Yeah. That's great. And just to back up what you're saying about the reduction in anxiety. So Viraj and Ria live in India, and I've been to their house many times now because I'm in India every 6 months. But one of the things I've really noticed about Vavan over years now of seeing him is when I first used to come over to the house, he would kind of run away. It was very difficult for him to come out and greet people. But now he's kind of like the life of the party, and he sticks around, and he's much more confident and comfortable being around.
Well, I mean, let's just give you an example. So when he did go back to school full time, he's taking school trips on his own without us. He, on his 16th birthday, said he wanted to have a party with a live band. He went to his first concert. He went to a rock concert and didn't get hassled by the sounds. Otherwise, he would do this.
Yeah,
all the
that's
time. That was
another
another
thing
one.
I was going to say. We did the, what was it?
The sensory
program, the soft
and hard.
The tactile stimulation.
Tactile
For contrasting textures. Yeah.
And then we even did the air horn
Yeah.
a couple of times.
Because I remember when he was like, even things like cutting nails or a haircut,
He was very hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was like a big change, and it was a quick
change.
After doing that program
Yeah.
consistently, it like 180 degrees. Like now, like he can go. I can just send him for a haircut.
I mean, I remember early on, when we would come out to the US and we'd be walking down a street, jackhammers would be going off, and that would just throw him off completely. It was this, and it was like almost a tantrum, and
birthday parties was difficult for him.
And then this is a kid who at 16 had a birthday party with a live band.
Yeah.
At 17 went to a Guns N' Roses concert. And at 18 had a party where he was dancing. So we've come a very long way.
Yeah, you sent me a video, Viraj, maybe a year back or so, with Vavan with a guitar up on a stage, and he looked so confident.
Yeah.
Well, we have a couple of questions that are coming in from people watching. So we have a question here from Priya, who's asking about, she says her 7-year-old has regressed at some point as well, because you mentioned regression earlier. And so she's asking your opinion. You give your opinions, and then I'll give my thoughts on if the program can be effective for someone at that age, because it's often said that, neuroplasticity, children can't change after the age of 5, basically.
Well, I think, first of all, we're talking about neurological age and not chronological age. So, first of all, it's 6. And if they were chronologically 6 or 7 or 8, neurologically, they may not be 5 or 6 or 7 even. They might be 2 or 3. So I think 100% the program can be beneficial. And the sooner you start, the better it is.
And just to make it personal, did you see changes in Vavan after the ages of 6 and 7?
We're still seeing changes.
Yeah.
I mean, we started the program when he was 6 plus.
Yeah.
He was 6.5 when we came to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So his whole experience on the program was after 6.
Yeah, chronologically.
Yeah. And, it's funny that so many parents are told this, that basically wherever your child is by the age of 6, that's where they're going to stay.
Yeah.
And, first of all, neuroplasticity exists throughout our lifetimes. So the idea
I was going to say that.
Yeah. I've seen, 70 and 80-year-olds recover from, severe strokes and brain injuries, because of neuroplasticity. So it's a bizarre claim to make, but also it's just when a child's given the right treatment, it's proven false pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We have a term called the catch-up phenomenon, where children who are even significantly delayed can make sometimes developments even faster because they're kind of catching up for lost time.
Yeah.
So we have another question here from Srinidhi, who's asking, how many years did you do the Doman program?
I'd like to say 6 or 7.
2000.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years. I mean, you started coming to India in 2014.
2014, exactly.
And I think we did the program right through 2018 or 19. And then even after that, we did certain parts of it.
Yeah, you kept up certain
activities
even after you stopped doing it intensively.
Especially like the breathing programs.
Yeah.
Sensory.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, do you feel like there were any specific programs in particular that were especially helpful for Vivaan?
Well, the tactile stimulation was great for him. The running program was great for him.
As hard as it was, the creeping and crawling, I think also really.
He now walks cross pattern. So that was a big one. Sounds don't bother him. So obviously, I mean, this is a kid who sits with headphones, and so we did the program where we were making him wear noise cancelling headphones. For 10 minutes, 6 times a day or 8 times a day. I don't even remember how many times. So obviously that helped. He goes through airports without a problem. This is a child who he's so confident, he goes right through security. The noises don't bother him anymore.
I think another program that really helped was masking. It helped a lot with his anxiety
and his speech.
And I think that's where his major issues were, and they're better now, but the anxiety and the clarity of speech still exists, but from where it was to now, like obviously there's a lot of difference. It was an instant change in him when we started the masking program.
Okay, let's see. We've got a question here. Anthea's asking, did Vivaan have any speech issues? And if so, when did you see improvements, speaking in sentences, for example?
I think speech is what was the biggest.
It was one of our biggest concerns.
Yeah, from the beginning. There was definitely a delay.
I think maybe, but speech also came later. It was one of the last sort of changes we saw.
Yeah.
So I would say a couple, like 4 years, 3 years.
So he has the vocabulary, full vocabulary. He has the understanding. It's the clarity of speech that is a problem. Even now, I think.
And that gets triggered a lot when he's anxious.
And if he gets anxious, it becomes even worse.
But I remember one thing. We'd come to Philadelphia, and then we'd gone to New York after that. And I don't remember the year, but this was maybe 2 years into the program, 2.5 years into the program, and we took them to a toy store. I think it was FAO. It still existed in those days, and he saw this little radio controlled car kind of thing, and he's never been one to say I have to have it, But he just looked at it, and I thought he kind of wants it. So I asked him, "Do you want it?" He said, "Yeah." But he didn't insist. So I bought it for him. And I remember I was walking ahead with our youngest son, and he apparently told Ria, "I'll thank Baba at home for this toy."
Oh, wow.
So I
Yeah.
remember this because she came to me and said, "He wants to say something to you."
Yeah.
So
So he can have conversations. He won't initiate them, but he can be part of it. Maybe what
well,
six, 7 words and
I think
7 word
look,
sentences. And he can, do you feel like he can communicate his wants and needs with
yeah,
you?
absolutely.
absolutely.
I mean, look, there are he's close to most of our extended family. And for instance, there's an uncle of mine who's his granduncle. He goes off with him and has conversations with him, and um, they can spend the whole day just chatting with each other.
Hmm.
So he does have meaningful conversations with people.
Yeah. And when he started the program at the age of 6, my memory, but you probably remember a lot better than I do, is that he said words, but he didn't
Mhm.
speak in sentences.
No.
No, right. Okay. All right. Okay, we've got another question here about does he socialize in school?
He is extremely social. He's been social. He's a social child. Like he wants to be with his peers. He loves going on these school trips. He loved going to school. He just constantly wants people. But the problem is that he has the understanding. He knows his drawbacks. He knows that communication is a problem, and the person may not be able to understand what he's trying to say. So he kind of goes into he's there, he's present, but he's aware of the limitation.
But he's still participating in everything that's going on.
Exactly.
The school sent us a video of all the kids sort of in the gymnasium, the class 12 kids in the gymnasium hanging out, having a little party. He was very much part of it. He was dancing with them, and
So I think Vivan lucked out in terms of the school that he was in. It was a integrated school where so he had and the kids were extremely sensitive. The school has sensitized, and the special needs program has existed for a while. So everybody is aware, and so the kids were really kind um, to him and to
And they involved
special-
him.
and he was involved in sports activities, in extracurricular, in the school trips, and he was never singled out, or
and by the way, he also took the bus to school.
school plays.
He participated in school plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned he goes on overnight trips
Yeah.
too. Yeah. All right. There's another question here about, did you notice any issues in your journey to change gluten-free foods? So I guess the first question is here, did you go gluten-free? And second
Oh my
question is,
God.
Yeah, we did.
That was the hardest.
It was hard.
It was harder than creeping and crawling.
We did go gluten free.
Yes. And Vivan, let me start by saying that Vivan is a foodie. He's been a foodie since he
Forever.
understood food. He loves food. So it was really difficult. But like I said, because his understanding has always been amazing. So he, if we explain to him the reason, even now, like if you speak to him and you make him understand, he gets it. So
he cooperates.
understood. He cooperated. As hard as it was heartbreaking for me. I remember I used to go and cry in the bathroom because I didn't want him to see me crying. But yeah, it definitely it made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You could see it in his energy levels through the day.
Yeah.
Just overall.
Yeah. And how long were you gluten-free for?
4 years.
4 years.
5 years.
And not constant, like I think on holidays.
Yeah,
he would
but I mean
give
that's
in.
Well, your experience will inspire many parents, because one of the first questions we get is, do we have to go gluten-free forever? And actually, there are some children that when it's reintroduced, they have a negative reaction.
Yeah,
And
so
so,
I just wanted to say that Vivan fortunately did not have any negative or like any allergy or any side effects. So I'm convinced myself, maybe, I don't know, but definitely gluten is gluten. Like if you can do without it,
yeah.
No, but I'll give you another one. When he was gluten free, I was pretty much gluten free,
yeah, we all were.
and that was pretty much
It's better to go that way as a family so that the child doesn't feel singled out.
That's pretty much the fittest I felt in a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Parents can lose weight too, which is nice.
I am I love my bread and I love my, well, I wouldn't say roti, but like rice and stuff. So sometimes I used to again eat in a like after everybody's like the kids have gone to bed or like late at night, just because I used to get that um desperation to eat bread. So I used to eat, cheat and eat late
Yeah,
when nobody's watching.
when they went to sleep.
Never when he was, yeah, never in front of Vivan while he was gluten free.
Well, I brought on two of my colleagues at Doman International, Jagjit and Colleen. Jagjit, I think you've met Viraj and Ria before, maybe at some point.
Many times. Many times. I have seen Vivan from here to here, actually. I must say that. And I can actually tell you what exactly I saw when I saw him for the first time and what exactly I really
Before you say anything, I just want to add that for parents doing the program, whoever the primary caregiver doing the program, you need someone holding your hand. Like, just don't be alone while doing it, because it does get too much for the parent who's doing the program. Of course, the child, but even for you, mentally, you need to be, there at all times. So when Jags came into my life, just per se, she changed everything for me because she took over. I was drowning. Honestly, I was drowning with everything that was, the whole program. And she came and she took over certain parts of the program. And she used to tell me, she said, you leave. Like, you just get out of the house, go have a coffee somewhere and come back. And even it took me time. I remember we were on the second floor. I couldn't even get out of the house. I used to come and sit on the first floor and wait, like, oh, what if she needs me? And then I realized that, okay, she can manage. And that's, it really changed. And it was better for me because, mentally I was in a better headspace. And hence I was able to do more of the program with Vivan. So yeah.
And sorry, just before Jagjit says her part, one parent's asking how old Vivan is now.
He's going to be 19.
19 next week, in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So just to recap, he started the program at 6.5. Viraj and Ria did the program for about 5 years, and he's now 19. Okay, Jagjit, go ahead, tell us.
Okay, I want to share an experience. So I don't know, but I really want everyone to have a Jagjit in their life after listening to all this. But thank you so much. But I want to tell you, so the first day when I met Ria and I was helping her with the program. And I told her, why don't you leave? Because he is showing more tantrums because of you. And she said, no, it's fine. Might be he needs something. And I was like, just leave for some time and we will handle it. It's like he knows very well what exactly is the scenario, and just leave for some time. So I remember she said, where should I go? And I was like, go out and have a coffee. And it was 8 a.m. in the morning. And she's like, and with whom should I go? So I realized at that very moment that sometimes parents, especially the primary programmers, they are too much into the program that they leave all their, let's say, things that they really love, and they feel, okay, let me just do the program, make the child well, and I have to do it no matter what. But one thing that they forget is that at the end of the day, they have to take care of themselves so that they can take care of the kid. So I know she came, like I sent her somewhere for a coffee and she went to the first floor and she came after 15 minutes and she was like, oh, I had coffee. And I was like, you cannot come back in 15 minutes because she was worried. But then she saw this change that Vivan was able to do all physical program, every part of it. And he didn't need Ria. He didn't need Ria. He was throwing more tantrums because Ria was there and because she was the primary programmer. So I just want to say that your child's understanding is very, very high. We feel that because of their special needs, they cannot understand, but they are actually manipulating the situation, the environment according to their needs. And we sometimes don't understand that as parents.
Oh, I remember this. I remember this coming home one day and Vivan's doing everything on his own. He's doing the creeping, he's doing the crawling, he's just doing it. I was like, oh, you know, I've come home to a house without yelling and screaming today. But he was doing it. And the fact is that, look, I think it feels very daunting when you look at it. But as you get into it, it just happens. And the other thing is, it's not that you're giving up everything in life. You will have a life. I mean, we still did things.
Yeah. And to that point, one parent is asking, what kind of support system did you have doing the program? So obviously you had people like Jagjit who were volunteering to help. And I wanted to ask you, Viraj, about something that you told me about years ago, but I've remembered it because you were talking about how, when you would go off to work, obviously it's not easy to support a spouse when you're at work. So you had kind of like timed times where you would call Ria. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then talk about anything else, any other recommendations you'd give to dads about how they can be supportive?
So what I had done is I had actually spoken to our closest friends and family, and I had them drop in at the time of patterning. Just, they came to see her. so I had this schedule of people who were coming in to sort of help. And then also I would call her. I knew when the breaks were, so I would call her in the breaks just to see how she's doing. So 5, 7, 10 times a day. It wasn't a long call. It was a minute and a half. Hey, how you doing? Everything okay? And sometimes she'd say, yeah, everything's great. Sometimes be like, no, I'm not doing this. And then that call became a few minutes more, and I'd have to explain to her that we have to do it. But I think the big support was the friends. We had friends who'd volunteer to say, I'll drop in at noon. Someone else would say I'd come in at 3 o'clock. And it's not like they were coming in and spending 2 hours, but they were spending 15 minutes.
Well, just to answer her question, the support system, I think, of course, the friends to kind of get my mind off. But we had trained, because for certain parts of the program you need, like for example, patterning, you need 4 or 5 people depending on how big your child is.
With him, we needed 5.
Yeah, we needed 5 people. So I had trained, the staff at home, the didis and the bhaiyas, and they used to come and help with the patterning, and of course Jagjit was there. And I think the biggest support that we needed was for the nutrition program, because we live from India, so we have grandparents, we have aunts, we have uncles, and we live in a joint family. So it was, Vivan was smart. He knew that on our floor where we live, there he was not going to get, but if he went to the grandparents' floor, he might find something. So that was the hard part, to make because they also felt bad, like, oh, poor kid, and look at his face and he's starving. And, they used to give in, but after, explaining to them and, telling, so they really did support us. We really lucked out on that, the immediate and the extended family. So that really helped.
They also knew they had to get through me.
Yeah. Well, but I think that overall, what the two of you are talking about is really, it's so important. it's such a challenge to be both the primary caregiver to a kid with special needs and advocate for yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's really great to have a spouse who advocates for you and is kind of your bodyguard a little bit and saying, hey, you don't do this,
Yeah, I used to be like, listen, your parents are just like, they're giving him, you deal with it.
Yeah.
I would deal with it.
Yeah.
But there was two things that would happen. I would go deal with my parents and give her a glass of wine.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, my Viraj, I'm not sure if you know this, but my grandmother, Katie, when she would teach moms reading programs for their children, at the very end, she would say, okay, now we're going to write it into the notes. Every Sunday night, you're going to take a hot bath and drink a glass of wine.
There you go.
Yeah. And she felt there was nothing a hot bath and a glass of wine couldn't solve.
No, but there were times when I could see that she needs a break. And so, if it reached a point where we felt that she's going to burn out, what I would do is I would say, okay, so today we're going to go and we're going to go away for a day. And we knew that, okay, if we don't do the physical program one day, it's fine, but the patterning has to continue, the breathing has to continue.
Masking.
All that so we'd had people come in and do that. So, my sister, her brother would come in and do that. Grandparents would do that. That helped.
I think I really believe it takes a village to really get things going, and for the child, for yourself, it really does.
Yeah, and I think that, first of all, it's great that you had that support system. Exactly. But I also want to point out to everyone else, like watching this right now, you have to communicate those needs with others,
Absolutely.
Right? It's very rare that people will be able to read your mind and know exactly what's wanted and needed. In fact, sometimes other people will not come to you because they don't want to be another burden. They're afraid, so they need to be told what to do.
I think that's another thing I wanted to bring up. Sorry, that from day one of once we figured out that there was something wrong, I think we were always open with friends, with family, with even like strangers who would we could tell them, like, we never tried to hide it. We never minced our words. We always said it the way it was, and that helped. The people, other people, to kind of be comfortable around us, around Vivan, and they knew how to, and that made Vivan comfortable as well. And he came into his own, and confidence grew, and he could just be himself. He didn't have to worry about what people are thinking.
And no one, as a result, no one treated him any differently.
Exactly, because everybody knew
that you got to treat him like one of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's also one of the reasons why he is where he is.
And I have to say that I took almost a year to accept that there was something, amiss with Vivan. Like I wasted a year, I would say. Kept telling myself that, oh, the speech, it'll come. People say, so, boys speak late, and so it'll come, and he's fine, and once I accepted, then, the next step was easy, and the next step was easy. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing.
We've got a question here from Goda, who's asking, what do you think helped auditory hypersensitivity? Because her son faces that problem. And also, did Vivan do any visual stimming, like spinning objects or anything like that?
No, Vivan didn't do any visual stimming, but I think the auditory was the auditory program, the wearing of the headphones and blanking out sounds. I think that's what really helped him there.
Yeah. Yeah, because you mentioned you did auditory stimulation as well.
Yeah.
Like different kinds of sounds. Did you ever do any of our music programs with like the electronic auditory stimulation?
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we did.
We did so many things now. It's just sort of
we did that. Yeah. That's one of the things we started after we had officially completed the program. I think
We did
came up later.
the auditory feedback program we did.
Yeah. Delayed auditory feedback. Exactly.
So a couple of different things.
Yeah.
But-
We focus a lot on hearing because it's so important for comprehension and speech development. And so we have many different auditory programs that we do.
So I think that those really helped.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's gone from this near a jackhammer to a rock concert.
Yeah. Exactly.
On the iPad where he used to music. I think that was the
Yeah, he was mobile when he started the program.
Yeah.
Did
Did he even run when he started?
No, he didn't run.
Okay.
I mean he could whatever walk fast, but it was awkward. His movement was awkward.
And how would you describe his mobility now?
He's fine.
I mean he cannot
He's not running a marathon.
like
But he works out with a trainer. He runs on the treadmill. He he just went. He's gone on a trip with his grandparents. He carried the bags. He lifts the bags.
his hand-eye coordination is better.
He does the whole check-in process. He does it all.
Good. Okay, let's see. Oh, Jagjit, you have a question from a parent, is that right?
Yes. Okay, I want to ask a question. This is on behalf of a parent. So you have done all kinds of conventional therapies, speech therapy, occupational therapy, special education, and you have done the Doman Method for so many years. Can you compare both of them? Because you have done the speech therapy also for a long time. Can you compare and tell us what is worth it? Even though I know like the programs and everything, I know both the sides. I know from the conventional therapy side also and from Doman program. Is it worth it doing such a long and difficult program? That's the question.
Yes.
There's no question about it.
I know, but this is going to you as a parent from a parent.
I think we saw such a dramatic change, and I think that's what motivated us to push for Doman International to come to India. Had we have not seen that change, why would we push to make it happen in India for so many years and be a part of it for so long? There's no question in my mind. I mean,
What is it, the OTN that treats the symptom
yeah,
and the program treats the cause?
yeah. So there's no question. I mean, we did the traditional therapies, and like I said, the graph was this: normal child, hurt child. So, and then now we can say, okay, we're not here, but we're pretty close. I mean, the guy sat for exams.
Yeah.
He's given exams.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
He's confident enough to give his exams. There's no.
And I know how stressful exams in India are.
Yeah.
It's not like the US.
So he's come a long way.
I think Colleen has some questions for you.
Yeah, I was wondering if, thinking back, was there anything that surprised you in terms of, something that was enjoyable about the program, or even, for the whole family? Was, what were the parts that were fun that maybe surprised you that were a good time?
Well, okay, I remember one thing that I was doing the reading program with Vivan, and our younger one used to sit around when we were doing this, and I was standing by the kitchen door. It was a Sunday, and I was holding the reading cards in my hand, and my younger one must have been a year and a half or something like that, maybe a little less than two maybe, and he kept pulling at my shirt, and I'm like, I just keep wondering what he's doing. And he kept pulling at my shirt. And I finally looked at him and he's doing this. And I'm like, why is he pointing at his teeth? And anyway, I was doing something else and I put the thing down. And 2 minutes later, I went to put the cards away. And I picked up the cards and the card said teeth.
Oh, fun.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
this little guy, red teeth, and he's pointing his teeth out to me.
He's like,
And
hey.
here I'm wondering what he wants. You know,
Yeah,
um,
it became a family affair, I would say.
so then we would put him with him and let him do the reading program and the math program and
I
things like
think
that.
even the creeping, crawling, like we started, making obstacles
Oh
while,
yeah.
they were doing it. And it was like a family
So you're
thing.
going under a
Everybody.
tunnel, and we had blankets being hung up, and
Yeah.
So even the younger one joined in, and it became fun. It became
That's
a
wonderful.
family bonding exercise. But
then
I think
we would cook together. We'd get them involved in the kitchen. I still have a picture of Vivan. I think he must have been 6 or 7, and he's sitting on the kitchen counter and wrapping potatoes in aluminum foil so he can have jacket potatoes.
Mhm. Yeah, and I just wanted to say we've gotten a bunch of questions kind of along the same lines that we answered already, but I'll just quickly answer them. So, does he still follow the elimination diet? Viraj and Ria said no. After about 4 years, they were able to re-add the foods without any issues. And then there have been some parents who have been asking, how does the program change after the initial 6 months? Are you redoing the same methods? And Haley, they said the program changed. Well, I'll let you answer that one. Did the program change?
So the program changed every 6 months.
Yeah.
Some things went away, some things got added, some things got more difficult, some things became easier, but there was something different every 6 months.
And even after we finished the program, like when you guys used to come, there's so many new things that you introduced us to still.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you're
that-
kind of
that-
answering one of the next questions, which is after you kind of stopped the main program, did you do any other separate programs?
We did some stuff. So like we still followed part of the nutrition program, especially with his supplementation and things like that. We did the delayed auditory feedback.
Yeah, this sound.
Yeah.
I think we did a couple of different things.
Safe and sound protocol, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the
Yes.
safe and sound protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Safe.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did
and
the
so
safe and sound.
and Thea, basically, sometimes parents might stop, after some time doing the kind of full Doman program, and in this case, child might go and attend school. But if there are some maybe smaller additional needs that the child has, if we learn something new, we'll teach it to the family, and they can, add it to.
I think we did masking for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Then he had that jacket.
Yeah, sensory respiratory training jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the sense from Anthea's question too, though, that maybe she was wondering if you had to pursue anything outside of Doman International once Vivan had graduated
No.
and gone on to school. No. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Let's-
he's just graduated from school, so
Yeah, he's living his life.
he is at the moment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How has your view, for Vivan changed over the years? Like the view of his future changed.
I think initially we were, what are we going to do? We're going to have to find him a place, a home, or something like that, or we're going to have to find someone who's going to live with him. There was all these thoughts about what happens after us. I think now we're at a point where we're now thinking, yes, he's going to take a year off now. He's going to pursue a bunch of short courses to see what interests him. And now we're at a stage where we're thinking that he's going to be fine. He's going to be independent. He's going to manage his own life. He may not work for $1 billion company, but he will be able to live his life, and he'll be able to find value in his life. He'll be able to do something that he enjoys and he feels valued with. And I think he's going to be able to manage himself, manage his home, manage his money, maybe even meet someone. So we think he's going to be fine.
As a mother, and because I was most involved in his daily routine, daily life in school, and anything new that used to happen, my first reaction would be, oh my God, how is he going to manage? Is he going to manage? And if he doesn't, if he can't, then what happens? Like, I don't want his confidence to come. So maybe maybe we shouldn't try it, because what if he can't? And then, his confidence is here, it'll come. And every step he has proven me wrong. And all credit, obviously, to him for even trying. And I think that all, stems from the what the Doman method has given him and pushed him in the right direction. And he's managed, I mean, of course, with a little help and a little push and a few obstacles, but he's gone way beyond at least my expectations every time. So, I'm
There's
only good things for.
there's another something that he actually said. So one of his teachers asked him, you're finishing school, so what's your plan? So he says, I want to go to the US to study. So she asked him, well, how are you going to manage? He says, well, I have to try. That's coming from him.
Yeah, that's great.
And he never, even 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I've never imagined him, saying that or thinking that even.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's wonderful seeing initiative, There's a good question here. One parent's asking on Instagram, was there any time you thought of giving up? And if yes, what made you push on?
Many times.
Lots and lots of times we thought of giving up. I think the fact is that every time we thought of giving up, he would do something to surprise us.
Yeah.
We'd get some.
I think the results, the changes in him just
kept us going.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, let me throw it to Jagjit. Any other questions from your side?
No.
Okay. One last question from me, Viraj and Ria. What would you say to a new parent, a parent new to the Doman Method with a child with special need? What would be your advice for them?
Just close your eyes and do it. It's not as hard as it seems. And this too shall pass.
Viraj, you're channeling my grandmother Katie today. That was "This too shall pass" was her favorite, was her motto in life. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know this. I've met I don't know how many parents over the years, especially in the initial years. We'd have parents coming into our home on programming days and chatting with us about the program. And look, I think if you decide you're going to do it, you'll do it. And your child will make you do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the key, patience. Just have patience. You will see the results. Keep your little group of your village around. That'll help you and your child. And just do it. It'll be worth it.
So Viraj and Ria, thank you so much for joining me. I see that, some people have continued to ask questions, but I recommend to everyone, if you joined late, go back and watch, the entire interview from the beginning, because we talked about things like schooling and, one parent's asking about how do I make my child calmer? We talked a bit about reducing anxiety and hyperactivity. So Viraj and Ria, I can say after having hosted this webinar for years, that the parents have many more questions for you than they do for me. This is probably the most questions we've ever gotten. So I'm going to have you back.
Anytime.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing you in India in about a month. We're
coming
May 9th to see
family. Done. We'll see you then.
Great.
Take care.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for. Oh, and people are thanking you in the comments, Viraj and Ria.
Please, our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of your week. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.